Hello, and welcome to the first installment of this series where I take a detailed look at the basics of clawhammer banjo. Some of you are here because you are brand new to playing the banjo. Some of you may be bluegrass players who are going to try out the clawhammer style, and some of you may be clawhammer players who are looking to get a few more details, maybe take a more critical look at your playing. No matter what brings you here, I think that I've got something that you will find useful, and I am going to start at the very beginning. Let's take a look at the banjo itself. Up here, you've got the headstock, this is the neck, and this is the pot. You have a drum head here, which we call the head or the banjo head. So you've got the head and the headstock on opposite sides of the banjo. On this side, the strings are attached to the tailpiece, and up here the strings go into the tuners. And this piece right across here is called the nut. Down here, this is the bridge of the banjo, and one of the things to be aware of there is that the bridge is not attached to the drum head. So if you loosen your strings or take off your strings, the bridge can slide or slip or fall off. And so most players have put a little pencil line so that they can always align their bridge when they are changing strings or if it bumps or moves for any reason. A lot of players put the banjo in their lap, and they tend to angle the neck up pretty high. The higher the angle of the neck, the closer you can keep your arm to your body. If the neck is really far out, you have to hold your arm out, and that can be really tiring. This is going to be pretty good. I play most often with the banjo on my leg, tucked up against my body like this. There's nothing wrong with either way. It's just about your playing style, your comfort, your personal preference. If I'm playing over the head, I tend to play pretty close to where the head meets the neck. My banjo has a scoop right here, so it's a little bit easier for me to play over the neck as well if I want to. So this way, I've got the neck angled down a little bit more, and so my arm is holding up its weight a little bit more than if I were to play like this. But again, either way is fine. You may have a resonator banjo. Now a resonator banjo has this end cap which projects the sound forward. It's going to be a little bit bigger around. Because it has the smooth edge of the resonator, it can tend to slip a little bit more. So whichever way that you hold it, you're going to want to try to lock it in with your arm a little bit to make sure that it doesn't move too much. So again, you can place it in your lap. You can place it on your leg, as long as you lock it in there. The point is to just find a position that feels secure and comfortable for you and your body and your playing style. You may want to use a strap, either if you're standing or as a way to help keep the banjo a little bit more secure to your body while you're sitting. Most banjo straps have hooks on either end, and those hooks just attach to the brackets on your banjo. And so you find a good spot, a good bracket. I choose one close to the tailpiece and one right on the other side of the neck here. Slip it over your head, and there you go. So you should have it balanced well enough that it's not going to tip over. If you stand up, you've got it, whichever way you want to hold it, right in front of you where it would be in your lap, off to the side where it would be on your leg. But either way, that strap is going to take most of the weight and the positioning so that your hands are more free to do what you want. Time to get tuned up. We're going to start in what we call the standard G tuning. This is the most common tuning. It's a pretty versatile tuning, so most sort of beginner tunes or beginner methods will start with the G tuning. And what that means is that when you strum all of the open strings, you get a G chord. This first string is a D, second string is a B, third string is a G, the fourth string is a D, and the fifth string is a G. most people will use an electronic tuner. You can buy an electronic tuner like this clip-on tuner, or you can get a tuning app for your phone. Whatever way works for you. Eventually you're going to want to be able to tune by ear, at least to other people, but there is no shame in using an electronic tuner to get where you need to be, because it's not going to be fun if you are playing out of tune. So get yourself a tuner and tune up the banjo. Clawhammer banjo is a term that people tend to use today to mean a down-striking way of playing the banjo. Different names include frailing and overhand and stroke style. These are all terms that may have very specific meanings in the regions where they come from, but all of them generally use the same type of downstroking as the main method of playing. We're going to build everything from a basic picking pattern that usually gets called the bum ditty, and it sounds like this. Bum ditty. And bum ditty is just a way of remembering the rhythm. There are 3 notes but 1 rest, so think of it as a 4-part pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, rest, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the first thing you want to be able to do is hear that bum ditty pattern in your head so that you can match it when you're playing. Now that you know what to listen for, let's figure out how you actually play it. I've got my hand curled up like this, and if you see how my hand is moving, it is rather like swinging a hammer. So clawhammer is a really appropriate term for this type of playing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to strike down on a string. In this case, we're going to start with the first string. And you're going to strike down on a string with the back of your fingernail. As your finger is striking down, your thumb is catching itself on the 5th string. Now, to complete the pattern, we're going to strike down once. We're not going to do anything with this thumb. It's just going to kind of pop back up again. Then you're going to strike down again, and then you're going to pluck with the thumb. Now, one thing that might feel odd is that you're going to touch a string without actually plucking it, without it making noise. But that can work, right? Like if you just touch the string and then bring your thumb back, it really makes almost no noise. It's only when you push through to vibrate the string that it ends up making the noise. And so the first step of playing clawhammer banjo is getting your right hand to practice that pattern over and over again until it becomes second nature. Many players use their middle finger instead of their first finger. And so you could try that out and see if you like that sound better. Or if that position is more comfortable for you and you're playing. The mechanics are totally the same. You're going to strike down on the string with your middle finger, and it's going to sort of slide off the corner of your fingernail. What I find is that I get a stronger tone with my pointer finger, but everybody's different. You're going to want to also be able to hit all the different strings. And so you're going to want to practice sort of going up and down the strings. One way of thinking about that is that your hand is kind of like a crescent wrench, right? And your thumb is always catching on that 5th string. And so if you're going to want to hit the first string with your fingernail, you're going to have a pretty wide spacing. But as you hit the other strings, your spacing is going to get closer until for that 4th string, your finger might be totally aligned with your thumb. And if you see here, my finger and my thumb can both pluck the strings even when they're close together like that. Because my thumb can lie flat against that string. So what I recommend you do is that you put on a podcast or watch a show and just practice. Practice going up and down the strings. And practice it until your right hand feels totally comfortable doing it. If you've got neighbors or sleeping children, you can use masking tape to actually mute the strings. Get a strip of painter's tape, put it on your bridge so that it touches all the strings, and it will mute the sound so it doesn't ring out as much. You can still practice, and it'll sound a little bit funny, but really what you're trying to practice is the rhythm, so it's totally fine if it's a little muted sounding. One thing to do while you're practicing that bum-diddy pattern is to use a brush stroke. The brush stroke when you're playing fills out the sound and gives you a full chord. And the other thing that it can do, especially as a beginner, is it gives your fingers just a little rest. It can be, it's going to be hard to try to hit just one string, so you're holding a lot of tension in your hand while you do it. Your playing is going to get better if you're more relaxed. And one of the things that you can do is you can do note, brush, thumb, note, brush, thumb. Same pattern, same bum ditty, but that brush fills in the sound. It also gives you a split second in your pattern where you don't need to crimp your hand and focus on hitting just the right note. You can just brush a few strings. It's okay if you hit 2 strings or 3 strings or all 4. It's just a moment to let your hand relax a little bit. There are going to be times in your playing where you want to use the double note, and there are going to be times where you want to use the note and the brush. To finish up with this section, I'm just going to give you some slow bum ditties for you to practice along with. I'll do some of them with the single notes and some of them with the brushes so you can hear what you're aiming for. Try to play along, but most importantly, try to play on your own and get that rhythm nice and solid on your own playing at your own speed. In the next video, we'll start talking about what to do with your left hand, and we'll put some things together with a basic tune.